Have you ever felt like a complete failure? Like no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get it right. I know that feeling all too well. For years, I was trapped in a cycle of trying and failing, over and over again. It felt like I was running a marathon with no finish line, collecting a museum's worth of failures. I tried starting businesses that never took off, learning skills that just wouldn't stick, and pursuing goals that always seemed to slip through my fingers. I've probably failed more times than most people have even tried, and for a long time, I thought that meant I was a failure, that I was somehow broken or not good enough. But then, something shifted. It wasn't a sudden lightning bolt of inspiration. It was a slow, quiet realization that grew out of the rubble of my 10,000 failures. I discovered a secret, a fundamental truth that changed everything. And today, I want to share that secret with you. Because if you've ever felt like giving up, if you've ever looked at your string of setbacks and thought, what's the point? This message is for you. This isn't about some magic formula for instant success. It is about a profound change in perspective that can turn your greatest failures into your most powerful assets. So stick with me, because what I'm about to share could redefine your relationship with failure forever. Let's be honest. We live in a world that worships success. We see the highlight reels on social media, the overnight successes, the people who seemingly have it all figured out. And when our own reality doesn't match up, it's easy to feel discouraged. We're taught from a young age that failure is bad. You fail a test, you get a bad grade. You fail at a sport, you don't make the team. This conditioning runs deep, so we develop a fear of failure. We start playing it safe, staying in our comfort zones, and avoiding any risk that might lead to another disappointment. I was the king of playing it safe. After my first few epic business fails, I became terrified. I'd spend months, even years, planning a new venture, perfecting every little detail in my head. But I'd be so afraid of failing again that I'd never actually launch. The fear of that familiar sting of defeat was painful. I was so focused on avoiding failure that I was actually guaranteeing it by never starting. It's a paradox, isn't it? The very thing we do to avoid failure in action is the most certain way to fail. The first part of the secret I learned is this: failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a part of it. Think about it. Does a baby learn to walk without falling down hundreds of times? Does a scientist make a breakthrough discovery on the first try? No. Every great achievement in human history is built on a mountain of failures. Thomas Edison, when asked about his thousands of failed attempts to create the light bulb, famously sighed, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." He didn't see them as failures. He saw them as data points, as learning experiences. This is the mental shift we need to make. We need to reframe what failure means. It's not a verdict on our worth. It's not a final judgment. It is simply feedback. It's the world telling you, hey, that approach didn't work. Try something else. When I started viewing my failures this way, everything changed. Each failed business wasn't a sign that I was a terrible entrepreneur. It was a lesson. One taught me about marketing, another about product market fit, another about financial management. My 10,000 failures weren't a list of shame. They were a personalized, intensive MBA program that nobody else had. So, how do we practically apply this? It starts with detaching our identity from the outcome. You are not your failure. Your project might have failed, your idea might have failed, but you, as a person, have not. You are a person who is learning, growing, and experimenting. This separation is crucial. When we tie our self-worth to our successes, we make our failures devastating. But when we see ourselves as a constant work in progress, failure becomes just another step in the process. Let's talk about the 10,000 failures number. It sounds daunting, right? But it brings me to the second part of the secret: the power of volume. A lot of us get stuck on one idea. We pour all our energy into it. We treat it like it's our one and only shot at success. And when it fails, we're crushed because we have to go back to square one. The secret is to not have a square one. It's to have 100 squares. It's to be trying so many things that any single failure doesn't feel that significant. Think of it like a scientist in a lab. They don't just run one experiment and then go home if it doesn't work. They run hundreds, thousands of experiments simultaneously. They are constantly testing hypotheses, tweaking variables, and gathering data. We need to adopt this mad scientist's mindset in our own lives. Want to start a YouTube channel? Don't just make one perfect video. Make 50 videos. Experiment with different topics, formats, and titles. Most of them will probably flop, but a few will show a glimmer of promise. And that's your data. That's where you double down. This approach does two things. First, it desensitizes you to failure. When you're failing on a daily or weekly basis, it loses its sting. It just becomes part of the routine. It's no longer this big, scary monster under the bed. It's just Tuesday. Second, it dramatically increases your odds of success through sheer probability. You can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. The more tickets you buy, the better your chances. By trying more things, you are creating more opportunities for luck and serendipity to strike. I learned this the hard way. I used to spend a year building one perfect business idea. When it failed, it was a year of my life down the drain. Now, I operate differently. I might launch 3 or 4 small projects in a month. They're not perfect. They're minimum viable products. Most of them fail within weeks. But it doesn't matter. I've spent very little time and money, and I've learned a ton. And every once in a while, one of them takes off. And that one success pays for all the other failures 10 times over. This brings me to the final, and perhaps most important, piece of the puzzle. The art of the intelligent failure. Not all failures are created equal. There's a difference between failing because you didn't try and failing because you pushed the boundaries. There's a difference between making the same mistake over and over again and making new, more interesting mistakes each time. An intelligent failure is a failure that you learn from. To fail intelligently, you need a system for reflection. After every setback, big or small, you have to ask yourself a few key questions. What was I trying to achieve? What actually happened? Why was there a difference? And most importantly, what will I do differently next time? This isn't about blaming yourself or dwelling on what went wrong. It's a clinical, objective analysis. It's about extracting the lesson. I keep a failure journal. It might sound depressing, but it's actually the most empowering tool I have. Every time something doesn't work out, I write it down. I document the process, the outcome, and my analysis. Over time, this journal has become my personal Bible for success. It shows me patterns in my own behavior. It reveals blind spots I didn't know I had, and it prevents me from repeating the same dumb mistakes. My journal of 10,000 failures is my most valuable asset. So let's recap the secret. 1. Reframe failure. It's not the opposite of success. It's a necessary ingredient. It's feedback, not a final verdict. 2. Increase your volume. Adopt the mad scientist mindset and run lots of experiments. Desensitize yourself to failure and increase your chances of getting lucky. And 3. Fail intelligently. Don't just fail. Learn. Create a system for reflection to extract the lesson from every single setback. Putting this all together, you begin to see failure not as something to be feared, but as something to be sought out. You start to realize that the only way to truly grow is to operate at the edge of your abilities, where failure is not just possible, but probable. You start to look for challenges that will stretch you, knowing that even if you fall short, you will come out of it stronger, smarter, and one step closer to your ultimate goal. The person you see today, talking to you on this camera, is the product of 10,000 failures. Every bit of confidence, every piece of knowledge, every success I've ever had was paid for in the currency of failure. Without those setbacks, I would still be that person paralyzed by fear, dreaming but never doing. The failures didn't break me. They built me. They were the chisel that carved away everything that wasn't working, leaving behind the person I was meant to become. So I want to challenge you. What is the one thing you've been too afraid to do because you might fail? What dream have you put on a shelf because the risk felt too high? I want you to go out and try it, and I want you to be okay with the possibility of it not working out. Go fail. Go fail spectacularly. Go fail intelligently. Start collecting your own data points. Start writing your own failure journal. Because on the other side of that fear, on the other side of that potential failure, is a version of you that you can't even imagine right now. A stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The secret I learned from 10,000 failures is that failure is the secret. It's the path. It's the way. Thank you so much for watching. If this message resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content on turning your challenges into triumphs. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me about a time failure taught you a valuable lesson. Let's build a community that celebrates the journey, not just the destination. Until next time, keep experimenting.